Hello everyone, Soberoni of G&A Reviews here, bringing you another event guide. This time we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming Christmas event in FGO, A Nightingale Christmas Carol. And just like with all my event guides, this is going to be a very in-depth look at the event, covering everything from the new servants to the best farming strategies. So to make things easier for you guys, I included timestamps in the description down below, so you can jump ahead to whichever part of this video you need the most. And I should also mention that this event is going to be open to everyone who completed Fuyuki, so even new players are going to have a chance to participate. But with that said, let's take a look at the new event servants. Now, as with most Christmas events, this one will also feature a free servant as well as a premium 5-star servant in the gacha. Starting with the free welfare servant first, we have the 4-star Archer Nightingale. She is an Archer class servant with a max attack of 9,858 and a max HP of 11,080. She has an AoE quick noble phantasm and is an excellent semi-support who excels in challenging content. And our gacha servant this year is going to be the 5-star Saber Astolfo. He is of course a Saber servant with a max attack of 11,694 and a max HP of 14,248. Likewise, he has a single target quick noble phantasm and he excels in boss fights. If you'd like a closer look at either of these servants, I do have a full servant spotlight for both of them linked in the description down below, which goes into much greater detail. Now, in addition to those new servants, we also have rate-ups for the original 5-star Berserker Nightingale, as well as Asvatamon and Nursery Rhyme. Alongside some new servants, we're also going to be receiving a slew of new craft essences with this event, both free and premium. Starting off with the premium gacha CEs first, we have the 3-star CE With My Family. This craft essence grants 1 crit star per turn and increases Buster Card effectiveness by 3%. It'll also increase the bandage of affection drops for this event by 1 or 2 if you max limit break it. This is basically a budget buster crit CE, which can work on some servants like Kid Gil, Nobu, and Jaguar Man. Next up, we have the 4-star Deliverers of Wishes, which generates 10 crit stars upon entering the battlefield 1 time, and reduces damage by 300. It also increases thermometer drops by 1 or 2 if you max limit break it. Now this is a very niche CE, but it can be useful for some crit supports like Hans, Fuma, and Mosh. And finally, the last of the gacha CEs is the 5-star Maiden's Luncheon Party. This CE increases NP gain and NP damage by 20% and increases pillow drops by 1 or 2 if you max limit break it. This can be a useful CE for any kind of NP spam servant that already has a good NP gain rate, like Kagetora, Uriel, or Summer Mordred. But without a doubt, the best CE in this event is the free CE from the shop, Traces of Christmas. This is a 5-star craft essence that increases quick card effectiveness and NP gain by 8% and starts you off with 30% NP charge at the beginning of the battle. In addition, it'll increase Holy Night Band-Aid drops by 1 or 2 if you max limit break it, and this is an extremely powerful CE for any kind of quick DPS or farmer, like Melt, Parvati, or even Santa Nightingale. We're also going to be getting a few new command codes, starting off with the 3-star command code Angel's Bed. This one removes 1 critical chance up from the attack target, and then it heals the user's HP by 100. This is a very weak and niche command code, however, it can work on some tanky supports like Mosh, Hans, and John. The 4-star command code is Inexistent Phantasmal Horse. It'll increase crit damage by 20% when engraved on a quick command card. And obviously this is great for any kind of quick crit servant like Santa Nightingale, Ku Prototype, or Okita. And finally, the 5-star command code is Maiden of Orleans. This command code heals the user by 1000 HP when attacking with the engraved card. However, the effect does have a 3-turn cooldown. Naturally, this is very strong on any kind of pure tank like Zhan, Mosh, or Shi Huangdi. Next up, we have the event shop, which is actually going to feature 4 different kinds of event currency. Starting off with the bronze currency first, we have the Bandage of Affection. With this, you'll be able to trade it in for 1 copy of the event CE, 1 copy of the Angel's Bed command code, as well as Homunculus Babies, Spinal Fluid, Hero's Proof, and 3-star and 4-star foes. The silver currency is going to be Thermometers, which will trade in for yet another copy of the event CE, as well as 1 copy of Phantasmal Horse, as well as Reverse Dragon Scales, Night Metals, Yggdrasil Seeds, Saber, Caster, and Berserker pieces, and 4 4-star foes. The gold currency is going to be pillows, and they're going to be traded in for 2 copies of the event CE, as well as a copy of the 5-star command code. You can also trade them in for eggs, divine wine, lamps, bicorn horns, saber, caster, and berserker monuments, and 4-star foes. And the last type of currency is going to be the first aid kit, which is only obtainable through the lotto boxes themselves, and they're going to trade in for additional copies of Santa Nightingale, as well as Buster, Quick, and Arts code openers, code removers, and QP. If you plan on emptying out the shop, you're going to need 2,700 bandages, 3,250 thermometers, 4,200 pillows, and 30 first aid kits. Now I should mention that there are only going to be 4 copies of the event CE in the shop, so if you want to max limit break it, you're going to have to get lucky and farm for an additional copy. And I don't say this often, but this is one craft essence that is absolutely worth max limit breaking, because it is one of the best quick CEs in the game, especially for free-to-play players, and it is a pure upgrade over Someday in Summer. Speaking of lotto boxes, this is going to be a lotto event, so as you can guess, the entire event is going to revolve around a lotto mechanic where players can spin a roulette to win prizes, the same as with Guildfest earlier this year. And if you're new and you don't know how lotto events work, basically you're going to be farming band-aids throughout the event, which you can then use to roll the lotto boxes for all kinds of rewards. Band-aids are going to drop from all of the free quests, so you'll be able to farm them constantly by just participating. The amount of times that you can roll the lotto boxes is infinite, so you can spend as many band-aids as you want, which also means that you can get an infinite amount of prizes. This makes lotto events the absolute best place to spend your AP, because they have the best return on investment of any event in the game. So feel free to spend as many apples as you want farming more boxes. As for what prizes the lotto boxes have this year, you'll be able to obtain ghost lanterns, octuplet crystals, forbidden pages, fangs, skill gems for every class, 4-star and 3-star experience, bronze, silver, and gold apples, mana prisms, friend points, and QP. As I mentioned, you can reset the rewards in the lotto boxes infinitely, but only after you've won the grand prize of each box, or once you've cleared all of the content. The grand prizes for boxes 1 through 4 are Lamps of Devotion, which you're going to need to ascend Santa Nightingale. Box 6 has a Crystal Lore as the grand prize. Box 5 has an Angel's Exchange ticket, which you need to get Santa Nightingale. And boxes 7 through 10 have 4-star foes. After box 10, there aren't any more grand prizes, which means that you'll need to clear the box entirely before you can reset it. But even if you do hit the grand prize early, I don't ever recommend resetting a box before you empty it, because you're going to be wasting all of that experience, QP, and ascension mats. Each roll is only going to cost 2 band-aids, and clearing a box in total is going to cost 600 band-aids. So they aren't all that hard to clear, and you can easily clear multiple boxes in a day. So there's no need to rush for the grand prizes. But in addition to the traditional lotto format, there is one new feature for this event. Similar to how the server-wide raids work, this lotto event will keep track of all the lotto boxes being completed by everyone on the server, which is going to be displayed on the lotto box screen. When the server reaches certain milestones, like 2 million boxes, then new special missions will unlock that provide bonus resources, which I will touch on later. And finally, there is one other new twist to this lotto event, which is the introduction of exchange tickets to the lotto boxes. Every time you complete a lotto box, you're going to receive 1 gold exchange ticket, which can be traded in for an ascension mat of your choice between Chaos Talons, Phoenix Plumes, or Giant's Rings. Now let's touch on the story quest for this event. The story for Christmas is very short, and because the event is aimed at all players, it is also very easy and accessible to even new players. So even if you just started playing FGO, you should be able to clear the event story and walk away with a free Santa Nightingale. The only place where some new players may struggle is that there are a couple of fights in this event against extra class servants like rulers and avengers, but most of the enemies will have under 100,000 HP, so if you have a decently leveled berserker, or if you can find one on your friends list, then you should be able to breeze through it. But in addition to these story quests, there are also going to be Santa Battle Royales. These are special quests that appear after the server reaches certain milestones with the box resets, as I mentioned earlier. These quests are slightly harder than the story missions, but they're still very easy even for new players, and they are worth doing because they reward a lot of mana prisms and ascension mats. But speaking of unlocking quests, I should mention that just like with all the other Christmas events, this one is time locked. So not all of the story quests are going to be available immediately. They are unlocked at a rate of 1 new story quest per day, so you won't be able to complete the event for at least the first week. However, once you do complete the final quest, verse 6, you'll be able to purchase a permanent copy of Santa Nightingale from the event shop, so that you can keep her as a permanent servant, and you'll be able to buy additional copies of her to buff her noble phantasm. Now let's touch on the most important aspect of the event, which is farming. There are going to be a number of methods that are available to you that will make farming this event much easier. The first of which is going to be the bonus servants. A number of servants are going to have bonus buffs for this event, which will help them deal more damage. Saber Astolfo, Santa Nightingale, and regular Nightingale are all going to have a 100% damage buff, as well as a 50% buff to bond points. Ashvataman, Santa Altera, Santa Jolter, Santa Alter, Santa Quetz, and Nursery Rhyme are all going to have a 50% damage buff. There are going to be a ton of servants who have a 30% damage buff as listed here, and Mosh herself is going to have a 30% damage buff as well, and she's also going to increase bond points to all allies by 5%. So if you have access to any of these servants, I recommend that you use them in your farming just to make the event easier. But it's not just about the event servants, there's also going to be bonus craft essences. All of the gacha CEs are going to increase the currency drops, the 3-star CE is going to increase bandage drops by 1, Deliverers of Wishes is going to increase thermometer drops by 1 as well, and the 5-star Maiden's Luncheon Party is going to increase pillow drops by 1. However, the most important craft essence for this event is the Event Shop CE Traces of Christmas, because it increases the Band-Aid drops by 1, which is going to help you farm lotto boxes. As a general strategy for this event, I do recommend rolling the Friend Point Gacha for as many 3-star CEs as possible, just to make farming easier in the beginning. And once you're able to farm, make sure that you purchase the Traces of Christmas craft essence from the shop ASAP. You're going to want all 4 copies. However, don't max limit break it. Keep all the copies of the event CE separate so that you can maximize the Band-Aid drops. The only time you should max limit break this CE is if you luck out and you get 8 or 9 copies from drops. Now keep in mind that not all of the free quests are going to be available right away, so some of the best farming spots for both the shop currency and the band-aids aren't going to be available until the end of the event, once the event story is complete. However, you should still always be farming whatever the most difficult and recent quest available is, so that you can still farm band-aids. Once all of the event quests are available, the best places to farm each item are as follows. The yellow tag free quest is going to be the best node for farming the bronze bandages. The red tag free quest is going to be best for thermometers, white tag is going to be best for pillows, and gold tag is going to be the best spot to farm for the band-aids which you need for the lotto boxes. Remember though that the first aid kits come from the lotto boxes, so farming for those band-aids is also going to increase the amount of first aid kits that you get. In addition to those nodes, you can also farm the Christmas rescue stage. However, it does cost 5 first aid kits to enter it. The stage drops a lot of pillows, and it also drops eternal ice, but it doesn't drop band-aids. So you should only farm this stage if you really need eternal ice, or if you have no need for QP, since remember that the first aid kits can also be traded in for a hefty 500,000 QP each. So for the most part, you're going to want to spend most of your time and AP farming the gold tag free quest for band-aids. Now finally, the last thing I want to touch on for this event is going to be the challenge quest. The challenge quest for this event is only going to be accessible if you've completed part 1 of the story, aka Clearing Solomon, and it's going to pit you against Lancer Medusa, Santa Nightingale, Bunyan, and Cha-Cha. All of them are going to have 1 break bar, and they're all going to have 2 unique skills. Medusa's first skill activates if Santa Nightingale is killed, and it grants all enemies defense up. She has another skill that activates once her break bar is depleted, which grants defense down to all of her enemies. Bunyan's skill that activates when Santa Nightingale dies is going to be granting all of her allies NP charge every turn, and if you break her break bar, she's going to grant all of her party members damage cut for 5 turns. While Cha-Cha will grant all of her allies crit chance up for 5 turns if Santa Nightingale is defeated, and she grants herself a 5-turn buster buff if you break her break bar. Santa Nightingale is going to have access to a bunch of her regular skills as a servant, but in addition, if you break her break bar, she's going to grant all of her allies debuff resistance up for 3 turns, a 2x evasion, and a 3-turn attack down. Essentially, this challenge quest is going to revolve around taking out all of the enemies before defeating Nightingale. Because if you take out Nightingale first, each of the enemies will trigger some kind of unremovable buff for their allies. There are a lot of ways to take advantage of this particular challenge quest. For one thing, it's important to note that the enemies will only trigger their unremovable buffs if you kill Nightingale, so you can break her break bar without any issue. This means that AoE servants can work very well for this quest, since you don't need to be as careful about not hurting Nightingale. For example, you can use an AoE Noble Phantasm to remove everyone's break bar, and then you can focus one enemy and kill them, like Bunyan, using normal attacks, and then proceed to AoE again when the backup party member comes in. Another major tip for this quest is that all of the buffs that the enemies apply after breaking their break bars are removable. So having a servant with an AoE buff removal like Ivan, Amakusa, or even Santa Nightingale is very strong for this fight. And finally, because 2 of the enemies are berserkers with only about 200,000 HP, they can be killed very quickly by just about any DPS servant. And you should absolutely focus Bunyan and Cha-Cha first, because they have the potential to cause the most damage, especially if they get lucky and get a crit, or if they manage to NP. Once they're gone, you can then focus on Nightingale and Medusa, and preferably take them both out at the same time with an AoE Noble Phantasm. Therefore, strong AoE servants like Space Ishtar, Musashi Berserker, Raiko, Arjuna Alter, Santa Nightingale, and Amakusa are all going to be very strong here. But single target servants with buff removal like Melt and Abigail are also good. Just make sure that you bring a good defensive support as well, like Merlin, Waver, Mosh, or Jean, to help keep your team alive just in case one of the enemies gets an NP off. And that's about all I have to say about this Christmas event. It's actually very simple and straightforward, especially compared to the Saber Wars event we just had. So just take your time with it once it comes out, and remember to focus on farming band-aids right away. Buy out that event shop CE from the shop, and absolutely make sure that you farm for a 5th copy. Also make sure that you finish the story quest so you can get your free Santa Nightingale, because Nightingale and Traces of Christmas are by far the best things to come out of this event, and both of them are absolutely free. A truly great gift from DW. But as always, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this guide or it helped you, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Follow us over on Twitch, Discord, and Twitter, all linked in the description down below. And I'll see you guys in the next guide or servant spotlight. So Brony out. Later.